Call the meeting to order. Will clerk call roll?
Dr. Ramona Becker.
Here.
Guy McDonald.
Here.
Betty Martine.
Here.
Peggy O'Donnell.
Here.
And Diane Nguyen.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And with all of our meetings, we'll start with a brief moment of silent prayer. Now please rise and join us in the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome everybody to our regularly scheduled meeting of your Bel Aire City Council, our second one in 2016 already. So moving along, situated up here. But first thing is the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of our January 5th City Council meeting, and then establishing 4 different dates for community events that our Community Development Advisory Committee has been working on.
Mr.
Yes.
Mayor, and I assume these are the dates that the advisory committee gave to us from their last meeting for these dates, right?
I believe so. And
Okay.
actually, yeah.
Then I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
First and second, are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Didn't we discuss, or several people called and at one of the garage sales earlier because it was so warm in June last year?
I don't know that we received phone calls, but is there?
We actually, sorry.
Yeah, no, go right ahead. I know, and Tristan's here, but actually you weren't in charge of that last year, were you?
Mr. Mayor, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I actually remember that we talked about, it doesn't matter to me, we even talked about doing it in August right before school started, I thought. I don't remember earlier, but I do remember we had
Well, it was
discussions.
something earlier or
But I
later
don't, doesn't matter to me.
because it was so hot. But I don't know if it's going to be that, you can't tell
No, I was
Right.
saying that.
day to day what it's going to be, but I just wanted to bring that out.
Well, certainly if we want to.
May I ask,
Please.
Mayor, have we checked with the other cities in the area to see if they're having garage sales that same weekend? Because I think last year we had it the same weekend as another city, and it kind of cuts down on your traffic if there's 2 cities on the same weekend, I think. Because people can only go to so many, and just to go to all of them in Bel Aire is quite a bit.
And that's another reason that's good for us to get ours published, because a lot of cities don't have them published at this point, but I know the ones we've checked with, if I remember correctly, and Tristan's here, so I'm kind of looking at her, but yeah, June 23rd through the 25th was a weekend that worked well with the schedule, everything,
Yes.
so. Certainly if there's other dates you guys want to propose, we're not. So, now, was the citywide yard sale in July last year?
We've kept it consistent with it's been, like, with the past years that we've had. So this is kind of the general time that we usually do have it, which usually the other cities do as well. And we try to keep it, we try to keep it spread out. So this is kind of just what we've done in years past.
I was just going to say for those listening at home, Tristan's in the audience and told us that that's pretty much the consistent, this is our weekend, the 3rd weekend in June, that, you know, stay consistent with past schedules, so. Yeah. Do have a first and second. Were there other questions, comments about these 4 dates in the minutes? Good. I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we have next discussion and approval, appropriations ordinance 16-02 in the amount of $261,352.56. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve appropriations ordinance 16-02.
Second.
First and second. Are there questions or comments about appropriations ordinance 16-02 at this time? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? City requested appearances. I don't have any in front of me. I'm looking through all my stack just to make sure, though. So this time we'll move into citizens' concerns. If there's anybody in the audience wishing to address council, you may do so at this time. Anyone? Okay. Next, then, would like to open a public hearing regarding the issuance of an IRB. This is for the Mind Cure Behavior and Wellness Center that's going to be located on lots 1 and 2 of Block A in the Commerce Park. If there's any citizens that wish to address the council regarding this topic, please come to the podium. So, yeah, if you come to the podium, please, sir, state your name and your address.
Sure. My name is Srinivas. Address is 9362 East Wilson Estates Court, Wichita, Kansas. I'm basically the CEO and the CFO for this LLC Mind Cure Behavior and Wellness Center. So basically, this is an inpatient facility for a psychiatric unit. What we have seen is the only inpatient psychiatric facility in Wichita is the Good Shepherd, which is via Christie. And if we observe, there's no other inpatient facility in a 150-mile radius. And we are seeing that a lot of acute patients from the Good Shepherd via Christie, they are being since due to shortage, they have been moved to the osteotomy in Kansas City. So we are thinking of setting up this inpatient facility. So that's basically our phase 1. So the phase 1 of this we would be addressing patients 18 and above. We have plans for future, like in phase 2, we are thinking of having other people under the age of 18, children and adolescents. The reason we have to do it separately is the state has laws on how, from a building standpoint, we need to do it. We have some restrictions for people above 18 and less than 18. And after that, phase 3 and phase 4, we are thinking about drug and abuse, substance abuse, and even crisis care. So this is what we have in the overall plan, but right now we are just focusing on phase 1, that is the inpatient psychiatric unit for people 18 and above. Right now we are currently already starting, we have already been working with an architect and a builder to get the cost of what it would take to build a facility which can get approved by the state of Kansas, the KDHE and KDADS, basically licensing and approving the inpatient facility. What we see is the cost of the land, the building, and the materials would initially come up to 2.3 million, and then we would also have employment of at least in phase 1 we are thinking 8 or 10 plus people would be employed. The way this inpatient facility would work is we are planning to have 14 rooms, that is 2 patients per room, that's totally 28 patients per day. And normally a patient would stay 3 to 5 days. That's what the normal approval cycle would be, 3 to 5 days. and there would be new patients coming in. So that's pretty much how this would work. The slide, the PowerPoint, the last three basically gives, kind of a design on how the architect has come up with the design of the building, and the second last slide is what was given to the state, basically on how we are planning to design the facility for phase 1. And we are still in the process of working with the state. They have given us feedbacks on a few things that we need to change, and we are still working on that.
Well, thank you so much. Are there any questions from council at this point for Shir Navaz? I know we talked about this a few months ago, and excited to see the progress. And
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I have a question. Did I understand you to say that it's mainly a crisis center in phase 1?
No, it's the crisis center would be like phase 4 or phase 5.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. I'm very glad to see this happening. I think there's a great need in our society for this, and so I think it's a very worthwhile project.
Yep, and there's a lot of people actually supporting us from the city of Bel Aire and from the state, trying to work with us directly to help us out to move in the right direction.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment. I see that you are expecting a loss of $500,000 in the first year and a loss of $200,000 in the second year, with a profit in the third year, approximately $800,000. It takes a great deal of courage to enter into a financial enterprise with the certainty of loss in the first 2 years. And I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there anybody else wishing to address council while we're still in open public hearing? Okay. Amen. Thank you so much, and I'd just like to say before accepting motion to close, that I am in 100% agreement with Councilmember Becker that this is something that our society needs, and I'm grateful, really. So, with that, I'll accept a motion to close the public hearing.
I will move that we close the public hearing at this time.
Second?
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Public hearing is closed. Moving into reports. For the mayor's report, just to I just wanted to thank everybody who's participated and who's contacted after last week's when we sought public input from the public and talked about phase 1, and we had the land bank earlier, where Marlon Penner spoke and brought a couple things forward where it looks like we may already be knocking on the door of retail coming very soon. So excited about those two things. But I do and wanted to say that I'm excited. On January 27th is a legislative day for local municipalities all to go to the state capitol through the LKM, which we're members, and everyone received a letter of that. I know last year we had a couple of council members who went and tried to make specific appointments. I appreciate that. At this point, I am planning to go. I need to double check something at work, but I'm super excited to go because I will be there when Taylor Hoffman, who is a 7th grader at Sunrise Academy here in Bel Aire, will be given the award for If I Were Mayor. I've not read the essay, so I'm a little worried, but we'll see maybe I should read the essay before I go up there. I'm sure it is, but there were over 2,500 entries from this, and they select a regional winner. And So to have a 7th grader from a school right here in Bel Aire that won that statewide contest is quite exciting. And hopefully at our first meeting in February, I'll be able to tell you all about that day. And that concludes my report. And with that, we're going to start with Councilmember Becker for Councilmember reports.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I was also here last week when we had the WSU facilitators come out and talk about our strategic planning and future planning and what people in the city were interested in, and that was very good. I was so happy that we had so many Bel Aire citizens come out for that and state their views. That was just really encouraging. I wanted to make note that I noticed on the calendar we didn't have our Monday, January the 25th Community Development Advisory Council meeting on there. So we'll be meeting at 7 o'clock on Monday the 25th.
Because of Martin Luther King Day pushes.
Yeah, so we need to add that to the calendar. It was a week later than usual. And also, I want to say that I was lucky enough to be watching Channel 12 when they featured Brian Hayes and his son at the game with all the fans, and that was really fun to see him. I couldn't believe my eyes. They spent quite a bit of time with him, and I was real glad to see one of our Bel Aire employees on there. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Wonderful. So much. Councilor McDonald?
Mr. Mayor, the council appointed me to what is called WAMPO, the Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. I attended the meeting on January the 12th, which is a Tuesday at 3 p.m. And we had an unusual situation. I'm just talking in general now. The organization was in the process of taking bids from attorneys, basically. And the high bidder was the recommended bidder. And after a heated discussion among various members, we rejected that bid. And we were told that that was the first rejection for 2015, which is an unusual situation. And I won't go into details because we would have had to go into an executive session to discuss them, but it's an interesting fact. WAMPO is a good organization, and they are striving to incorporate into their organization the viewpoints of all the surrounding cities of Wichita. And I think they're doing a very good job of that. They're also trying to become independent of Wichita, and we will be in a separate building probably sometime this summer. We meet at the 10th floor of City Hall of Wichita now, but that's going to occur, and I think that's going to be going to have a positive effect on Bel Aire, as well as Park City, Keachai, Mays, Derby, and other towns that are part of this organization. And so I'm happy to be a representative to that. I've a little facetious here. I was told indirectly by a citizen that I speak too much. That when McDonald gets wound up, he doesn't know when to stop. I reject that, of course, but I was told that, and so if there are, and I recognize the fact that there may be other citizens who feel the same way, and if so, please get some signatures and send them to me, and if there's enough, then I can be replaced easily. So I thought I'd pass that on because I was told that's a true statement. My report is ended, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the news before I came, I was kind of excited because we've been talking about our IT, and I saw on Channel 12 that Cybertron is giving $2.5 million to Wichita State to house all of their new computers and electronics and their former students, and they're going to have the flight simulator after them. I thought that was a pretty neat thing that they're giving to our campus here at Wichita State. And I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the State of the City last week. I thought you did an excellent job. I watched it again. The only thing I heard, and I was talking to Miss Martine too, is it was hard to sometimes hear what the audience said. But go ahead and replay it. Maybe we can put closed caption or something. It was great. And I just want to echo what you said. For if I were mayor, it's the first time someone from Sunrise Christian Academy has entered, and he won the district. So you'll get to have lunch. And I also wanted to brag that next week at Wichita State for the DSI competition, hundreds enter that, and there's only 4 left, and 2 of them are our students at Sunrise. So Sarah and Cynthia are both in that competition, and it's $40,000. It's a huge, it's the top scholarship. So that's pretty cool. We're the only school that has 2 left of the 4. So I know the Bel Aire Breeze, we already sent that to them, but that's we've never had 2, so that's impressive. And then I went to the SCAC meeting on January 9th in Derby. Forensics hasn't started, so I was able to go down there. And it was a really informative meeting. Derby has a new city hall since my parents lived there a few years ago. And the mayor was there, and he was, the speaker was Mike Scholes, the new county manager. And he was teasing him, why did you move to Bel Aire? And he said, when I saw Bel Aire, I knew that was for me. And when he said, and when I got my kids over to Sunrise, it was a done deal. So he's our best promoter for our city, I tell you.
Fantastic.
Every time I've heard him, he brags on the city. In February or March, they are going to have a safety training for West Star. One will be held in Derby and one in Andover for our public works, and I'm sure you guys get that email. But the thing I was so impressed that I did not realize is that Bel Aire now, everybody has changed to digital. And they put these on some of the doors. Some people, they did different contractors, and so they missed some of the doors, but they said if you miss this on your door, you can call them and they'll bring one out. But you should note that it wasn't optional. The whole county is getting this by West Star. I wondered one day when I came home and my electricity was off. It takes less than 30 seconds for them to switch it out. But if a lot of you noticed one day, oh, my electricity was off, it was because they were coming around. As of the meeting, 95% of Bel Aire has been done. But since that time, all of Bel Aire has been done. So you can even use your phone and go in and check everything. You can find out what you can do and how you're, it's digital. You can find out how you're doing. It's going to save lots of money because they don't have to come and read the way they used to, and they have to send people. Now they can just drive by with their trucks like they do the water meters. So I had no idea that Sedgwick County was almost completed with that. I knew they were doing it, but they had a little handout. So I just wanted to let all of the citizens of Bel Aire know that you are now with the AMI, the Advanced Metering Infrastructure, and it's amazing that what it's going to save. They said in December 31st that 91,000 automated service calls were provided without sending out a truck, and that they had already got these in Eudora, Lawrence, Rossville, Silver Lake, Topeka, and almost Wichita. So I just wanted to let you guys know. Did you know, Mr. Lasher, that was that we were finished?
No, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so that was really informative. The next one is February 13th, and I will not be able to attend that because I have a competition, but it is at Goddard. And then after that, they're going to have them all in Wichita so they can get people to see some of the changes that have been. So March is going to be at the Sedgwick County Historical Museum, April at Cowtown, and May at Botanica. So anyway, that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll leave this with you, Mr. Lasher, in case people want to read about it.
Well, thank you so much for bringing that. Yeah, I didn't know. I was one of the doors that didn't get it, so I'll need to call about it. But just amazing how many things now are going to be controlled by our phones.
I know.
It's just unbelievable. Anyway,
May I ask a question? Where did you say that people can get that flyer if they didn't get one on their door?
They can just contact West Star,
Okay.
and they said that they'd get it right out to you. Because I didn't get one either.
I knew that my electricity had blipped off like that, but they didn't leave anything on my door.
Yes, and she apologized. They were all supposed to, but they had a lot of different contractors doing it. And some areas, and I think Bel Aire got left out because I haven't seen these on hardly any doors.
I haven't either.
Because the residents in Goddard and Derby said they all had them. And I never had seen one of these on any door.
I shall call Westar in the morning. Yeah.
Bel Aire wants this.
Thank you, okay. And Councilmember Nguyen?
Well, thank you, Peggy, for that information. I didn't get it either, and had issues with my programmable thermostat that was put on the, theirs recently, and was told I have to do it myself now. They won't put another one on, so maybe that was the reason. I also wish they'd bury the line in my backyard that is always in trees. So my report, very short. I did really appreciate the turnout at the State of the City and wish that a few more of them would have stayed longer, because I think they really missed something that was, it was a surprise. I didn't know anything about it, and very interesting. And I made a couple of suggestions to the young men for reaching some of our people that might not come to a meeting type of thing, doing something at Catholic Care Center, and they were receptive of that. So, I mean, I may be butting in here and making suggestions that haven't, but I think the more people that we reach easily and in groups, the better that's going to work, kind of thing. The other thing I did earlier this month was I attended a planning meeting for the senior center group, and both Jenny and Brian were there, and there were a number of new faces. Being a member of that group for several years, it had become a little bit stagnant that the same people came all the time for the planning session. Well, we had to go get more chairs for the meeting, and it was a pretty lively discussion, and so I think there will be some changes in that group, and I think it was very helpful for Jenny. Not that she doesn't do a great job, she does, but it's always helpful when you've got some ideas to work with. And Brian was there also, and that's helpful. So really appreciated that. And I understand there's been a change made, and Jenny's going to be over there more at some point in time, spending more of her time over at the rec center. I think she's going to be pleased with that. So anyway, that's basically what I did.
Councilmember Marti?
Well, most of mine's been reported on, but January the 11th, I attended the senior club breakfast at Jimmy's Diner, and a bunch of us, there was quite a few there, and we even plugged some of the jukeboxes, but nobody got up and danced. And the night of the ball game, I was watching Channel 12 News, and before my eyes appeared Brian Hayes, and I thought, okay, what's going on here, robbery or what? Well, he was in Boston with his son, and the only other thing about that was he was interviewed by a Channel 12 news lady, and he hadn't seen his son for quite some time, which was a good thing. They went to the ball game together. This was before the game started. And the only thing I was really disappointed in, and maybe he won't make that mistake again, but he didn't say that he worked for the wonderful rec center in Bel Aire. He said he lived in Wichita. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, Brian, you got to do better. And that's all I have.
All right, city manager report?
Just a couple items, Mayor. Wanted to let the council know that the city won another award for our street in Iron Gate. This one is from the Kansas chapter of American Concrete Institution. And they awarded the city the 2015 Flat Work Award for Chapel Landing paving project. And the reason I was talking with Ann, because we've been winning a lot of awards for our streets, and so I was asking how, you know, I mean, to us it looks like a concrete street, and you know, but what is happening is that Andale Paving, who's been doing the street work, they're using a new type of like roller compacted concrete, and they actually created a certain ingredient that makes this whole thing work, and they've patented it. And so all of these concrete companies throughout the United States haven't figured that out, because this specific compound that they created to make the concrete dry and lay down like it does was created by them. So they're winning a lot of awards because of their innovation, and because they're doing them here is why we keep winning them. So it's kind of neat for Bel Aire to get recognition for roads, and but that's why we keep winning the concrete awards, is because of, you know, it's neat that a small business in Andale, Kansas can make that big of a wave out in the whole United States in the Concrete Association by what they're doing and stuff like that. So so that's kind of why we're winning them, but it's neat to have Bel Aire being named on all these awards. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was the home show is quickly approaching. It's a month away, a little bit less than a month away. So we're working on getting that set up. This year we've doubled our booth size, so we're going to be on an end. We're going to have a lot more room this year, and we've got a lot of things to brag about there. We'll also be looking for volunteers. So I know council and staff typically volunteers, but if anybody at home would like to go and work at the home show, and we set it up so you have like 2-hour shifts, and it's kind of a fun thing to do, to go talk, and then you get in free, so you can go walk around. But if anybody at home's interested in volunteering, just let one of you all know, let one of us staff know, and we'll put you down. But we're going to start sending out requests for volunteers here in another week or so to get that filled up. So I just want to invite citizens at home, if they want to come and join us and be part of the fun, to let us know. So that's all I had, Mayor.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll move into ordinances, resolutions, and final actions. We have a number of folks in the audience who are here to address and answer questions, so we're going to get to all of those first before we get into some other issues, topics here. But the first is a consideration of a letter of intent. This is to issue the IRB for the Mind Cure Behavior and Wellness Center. We heard, Shernabuz was here during the public hearing, talked to us a little bit. The owner of this new wellness facility, we, after reviewing the proposed financials for the company, our staff has come up with a 5-year tax abatement package that is extremely comparable to what we've done with some of these other new businesses that are coming in here and relocating, like Sked and the Copper and Granite and Next Level Hoops. So the cost benefit analysis indicated all taxing entities would receive over 2.0 return, the ROI, which I think is extremely positive. So that'd be something that I would absolutely recommend the council approve the LOI with Mind Cure Behavioral and Wellness Center.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'll move to approve the letter of intent to issue IRBs and provide other incentives for Mind Care Behavior and Wellness Center, LLC, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
First and second, are there any questions or comments on the LOI? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
I did say that, did I? All opposed? And it passes. Thank you very much, Councilmember McDonald. I'm moving through here, okay. Next is the resolution to go along with the LOI there. It's a part of this process. It requires a public hearing, which we just held just a few minutes ago. And that's, stuff that we have to do. The city, I want to remind everybody, has zero financial responsibility for the IRB, and the company must secure their own financing to purchase the IRB. So something I would recommend that we approve so that we can move forward with the IRB process.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Wynn?
I would like to make a motion to approve a resolution of the governing body of the City of Bel Aire, Kansas, determining the advisability of issuing taxable industrial revenue bonds for the purpose of financing the acquisition, construction, and equipping of a medical facility to be located in said city, and authorizing execution of related documents, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
First and second, are there any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, next is a second addendum to the real estate purchase agreement with Chernivaz for lots 1 and 2, Block A of the Sunflower Commerce Park. And this kind of just ties all of that together. I know since he was out of town last month and worked on his financials, but to license. So we're looking for that, but he's actually requested an additional 30 days to finalize those documents before closing. So this addendum, if approved, would move the closing date to February 12th.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the second addendum to real estate purchase agreement with Srinivas Krishnamurti and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second?
First and second, are there questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
same sign. Okay. And again, to echo some of the thoughts that were shared earlier, I'm very excited to see this come up. So next is a consideration of a proposal from professional engineering consultants to provide professional services that relate to the future land use and the development plan. I know last year we discussed the need, the council did, for someone to assist with land planning for the entire city-owned property outside of the Commerce Park. And I know, that Marlon Penner and Ty have been considering companies and individuals who could best meet this need. They decided on PEC and Law Kingdom and requested a proposal, which is before council today. Some of you may remember Law Kingdom worked with Trans Systems to create the master plan over at the Commerce Park, which I think was pretty successful. PEC worked with Bel Aire and Keachai a number of years ago on a master plan for the K-254 highway. And Marlon is here today if you'd like to come share your thoughts on why this is important. He can do that. And also Scott is also here from PEC and has a brief presentation on what the proposal encompasses. Interestingly enough, we actually heard comments at our planning session last Tuesday of this need. So would like to invite you to come forward.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be very brief. There are really 7 things I want to say. First of all, doing a master plan, as you're proposing to do, really shows the community that you are very thoughtful and you value thoughtfulness in your development in this community, and that's a good thing. Secondly, that I think it shows prospective buyers that you are protective of your fine city and you desire quality development. Thirdly, you manage the expense of your infrastructure much better when you have a master plan as opposed to guessing as to what your infrastructure needs are going to be. Fourthly, you anticipate the proper sizing and capacities of your infrastructure. Fifthly, you protect against unwanted development, and you may have seen what's been going on in Keachai, and that was the very same prospect that you rejected, and you did so because your covenants said they did not allow that. So that was a smooth, non-controversial type thing, and you have eliminated controversy. So that was just a wise thing to do. Sixth, you attract quality developers who appreciate planning. Developers do look at a city and try to understand, are they protective of the quality of their development? And if you are, they're more interested in coming here. And finally, the maintenance of flexibility. The master plan that will be proposed is guaranteed to change many, many times. And a city needs to understand that we work with the developers, not against them, and that we work with the master plan, but the master plan is a guide. And so I know that, this is a wise thing to do. And I'll say one more thing: you really have picked, if you choose to accept this proposal, you've really picked the best local. PEC is a very fine company, very quality, and not only do you get the talent of PEC, but you get the talent of Law Kingdom as well, another very fine organization, which was involved in Sunflower Commerce Park. So I really applaud you for this effort and encourage you to move forward with it. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's been about 3 years since I've been before this group, and there are still a few familiar faces I recognize on council, and it's good to see you and be here again. I just wanted to take a minute and just kind of go over the proposal we've submitted at the request of Mr. Lasher to do some land use planning work for the community of Bel Aire. I'd like to begin just real quickly by recognizing and agreeing with the words of Mr. Penner, who he said very well the benefits of a well-planned community. And he said it in a way that not many people realize, but that a lot of people will understand if they think about it. So before you today is a proposal, as I mentioned, submitted at the request of Mr. Lasher with really two primary goals to achieve. The first goal is to really come up with a plan for the future land use and development of the community that's not only consistent with community goals for growth and preferences in the type and development that occurs, but to also have some key objectives that go along with it. First off, to promote land uses in suitable locations where they are compatible with the adjacent development that has occurred or may occur, and also appropriate access to transportation, as well as locations that can be served adequately with city utilities. That's the first objective of this plan. And then the second one would be to provide some recommended implementation strategies that will help you ensure that as future development occurs, it generally occurs in consistency with the plan as envisioned by the community. And of course, those recommendations might come in the form of recommendations for policies on growth, for revisions to the code, maybe some new regulations, or perhaps even design guidance that might be utilized. Once again, that won't be doing regulations or code updates, but recommendations of how you might implement it within the context of your existing code. Excuse me. And finally, the work products will be delivered in a format that can be incorporated into the next comprehensive plan update, so therefore would then become official growth policy of the city. The second primary goal would be, as Mr. Penner indicated, prepare a master plan of sorts for the properties that are currently owned by the city, to help provide recommendations for land uses and the suitability of the location, so the types of development that might occur. Once again, compatibility with community development goals, so that those properties might develop in the way the community sees fit. And finally, to identify some specific development and design objectives for individual properties owned by the city, along with methods of, recommended methods, I should say, of helping to ensure that those objectives are met as future development occurs on them. The scope of services that's included in the proposal, what I've tried to do is outline a process that is going to be conducted according to sound planning principles and methodologies. We're going to utilize up-to-date current data and available information. And once again, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that it really furthers community goals and the community's vision of how Bel Aire wants to grow as we progress into the future. And just finally, before I open it up to any questions you might have for me, we are going to deliver all work products. They will be owned by the city, so they'll be available for your own use as you go forward. In addition to PDF versions of the report that you'll be able to use and distribute, we'll also provide the data that's a product of the analysis and all of the original source files that are used to create the documents, et cetera, maps, everything, so that they can be easily incorporated into other city plans, policies, et cetera, and updated as needed as time goes by. As Mr. Penner indicated, you need to have some degree of flexibility to be able to change things. Things change, and you will have that because the data and all the source files and everything will be yours. So that's basically it in a nutshell. I do have a copy of the proposal in front of me, so if you have any specific questions regarding it, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I have some comments. I've not heard of Professional Engineering Consultants, PA, but I've been in town for a long time. I was a manufacturer's rep, and I called on Law Kingdom. That was one of my responsibilities, to call on the architects. And I did that, and they are an outstanding firm. And if Mr. Penner says that Professional Engineering Consultants, PA, is the best local group, then I respect that highly. That's end of my comment, Mr. Mayor.
So, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for coming, and we've worked with you guys before, several years ago when we did the group, and I'm excited to work with them again.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question and a comment both. My question is, will you be utilizing the data that WSU gathers in getting a residents' vision of what our community needs to be?
Yeah, one of the first items we'll do right out of the gate is to make sure we have copies of all relevant existing documents, plans, et cetera, and make sure that whatever is relevant to the work that we're doing, we make sure that it's available to us and part of the considerations that are taken into account as we move forward with developing the plan. Absolutely.
Okay, great. And then my comment is that I'm so very excited that you're going to be doing this and working with us. This is something I've wanted since I've been on the council, and I know several other council members felt the same way. I think it's very beneficial to us and our future. So I thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for being here and presenting, and I'll echo some of the comments shared here by other council members. That, yeah, this is something I remember when Mr. Penner spoke to us as a council was that last summer about the need for this and to find the right one and the right group. It's not something we wanted to rush into, but it's something we certainly, for all those reasons that were outlined by both presentations here now, and working together and certainly going hand in hand with all the community input. You know, when I said 2016, I just feel it is going to be exciting. These are the types of things I was talking about. All of these things really starting to flow that seem like they've been talked about for quite a while. You know, council certainly, you know, could table this if they wanted more time. My recommendation would be certainly to accept this proposal for some of the very reasons that Councilmember McDonald pointed out. You know, for the development plan that's going to coincide with our strategic planning that's going to be done with Wichita State University.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I am delighted to move to accept the proposal from PEC for future land use and development plan for the city of Bel Aire at a cost not to exceed $24,000 and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
I think we're all delighted.
Other questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we do have the money to cover this in the budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You bet. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yes, welcome. All right, let's meet tomorrow morning. Wonderful. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here tonight. Next, and we have Michelle Myers here. We're going to talk about the 2016 City of Bel Aire salary schedule. We had some questions after our last meeting, and it just went to sleep here, but all of the different with and without COLAs are all in there and all labeled, and so that's there for us to accept this evening. With that, I know, you know, like I said, we had that on the January 5th council meeting. You know, Michelle, if you'd like to address the changes, you can. I'm putting you on the spot here. So I just remind that council voted that we'd have no COLA in 2016 at the last meeting. So tonight's action is simply to approve the few position changes that I think we've talked about a lot that I think are surely needed here to make our city run even more effectively. But I'll turn it over now if you have anything to add.
Sure. Just to summarize the report a little bit, the last time the pay scale was updated was 2015. We did a 1% cost of living. Also, what we did in 2015 was condense what used to be like a 14 or 20-page document with a lot of different pay ranges and positions into a one-page document with just some ranges and classifications for the same pay. So positions that used to be off by a few pennies each got condensed into one range to make this easier to follow for staff, for everybody. The 2016 version that is up for approval tonight includes no COLA. It does include basically not a step up, but a classification increase for 8 positions. 5 of those are in the Public Works Department. Basically, every position in the Public Works Department, with the exception of the department head, is being moved up 1 position, 1 classification. 2 of the positions in Recreation, which are basically our 2 full-time positions, those are both on there to be moved up. And then 1 Planning and Zoning position, which is the 1 basically department head position in that. Those were done taking in department head input into consideration. Basically, we were finding especially with those public works positions, is that when we were recruiting, we were not actually hiring at step 1. We were having to hire at a higher step to get people in to be competitive. So moving them up on the chart basically just gives us a more accurate range of 13 steps that they can expect to achieve while they're employed with us. I think that was about it. The one thing that somebody pointed out, there was a little bit of a difference in some of the decimals. The 2015 scale was a spreadsheet that went back to 14 to 13 to 12, back to early 2000. And when you have formulas that point back years and years and years, you lose a little bit in the rounding. The 2016 version started clean. with whole numbers in step 1 to more accurately reflect the 2.5% step increase in each range. So nobody's pay will go down as a result of the small decimal changes in the hundredths and thousandths positions. So nobody will actually realize an immediate increase in pay. Even the positions that are moving up a level, they're going to continue to stay at the pay rate they are at. The next time they're up for a merit increase during an evaluation, they'll be moved to the step that is the closest up on the next range.
So basically, this is going to align everything with your organizational chart and
Yes, correct. There's also some positions that have been eliminated because they no longer exist in the organizational chart, so we didn't see the need to keep them on the pay scale any longer.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you clearing all that up and bringing it all, and it seemed like a lot of, I couldn't work with numbers.
I could just stare at them all day. So.
Questions? Yeah.
So the purpose of the classification increase is to attract new hires primarily. Is that correct or not?
It's to more accurately reflect the level that we are bringing new hires in,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
For the lower range, the maintenance position, it was starting at, I think, $10 an hour. It's going to be $12.15 an hour. We haven't actually been bringing people in at 10. They're starting closer to the 12 range. So this will be more accurate.
So the classification increase does not automatically come with an increase in salary. That will come as a merit raise at some time in the future if it is indeed merited.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent questions. Anybody else? For Michelle while she's here?
Well, I just want to thank you for the explanation. It makes it much more clear. Yes.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, so that is before council tonight. For that, again, yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, yeah, sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2016 City of Bel Aire salary schedule.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Are there additional questions or comments about the 2016 salary schedule? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, next is consideration of accepting a proposal for website and mobile app redesign and hosting. We just heard earlier how our electric bills at home are going, moving that up, and I know this is something that a couple of council members have brought to my attention that just needs updating. And you know, our current website was built in 2008. So if I'm doing math quickly, that's 7-8 years old. In IT world, that's might as well be 100 years old. And again, this wasn't the fact that the city didn't want to do it. You know, the priority where we are with finances now. We'll be excited to look to refresh that. The current mobile app was built in 2013, so that's now coming up on over 2.5 years old. And it's hosted by a different company now. So hearing some of the concerns about the age of our website, I know some of our staff requested proposals for a redesign. Tristan is here tonight. She's a staff member who manages the website and the mobile app. She'll let you know has been fairly new in this position and also shares in our desire to be a lot more relevant and current, just in some of the brief conversations I've had with her. But she's here to review the proposals. If council is comfortable with the presentation and support documents, we can move forward on the process. But would like to go ahead and bring Tristan up to talk. I have my recommendation, but we'll want to hear.
All right. Like Mayor Austin said, our website is pretty old. Our current service provider, eGov, actually said it's one of their oldest websites they still have. So that's not one of the best things, so we're going to try to fix that. Some of our goals for the new website would be, first is to get the fresh new design within our city budget. We really need to get our city website to look as good as the city looks itself. We want it to mimic what we're trying to get people up here to see, our beautiful area, all the things we have to offer. We also want to improve organization and functionality. This goal can actually probably reduce some of the city staff time by getting some services online that can be done without coming into offices and taking some of their time. Some of that may be water signups online, building permits, things like that. Another one is for it to become mobile responsive, which is a big thing nowadays because not everyone's viewing our website just on the computer. They're viewing it on their tablets and their phones. And lastly, and then we have website support, which is going to be really important as the city does have a new website and that we launch this, because we don't have an entire department to sit there and watch as problems happen. So we definitely need a company backing us and being there when we do have those problems that do arise. And also, like it was mentioned, our mobile app, we will not have any longer after the end of this month. So I wanted to check and see if anybody had the availability of having a mobile app and what those costs were. Now this kind of just gives a general overview of the proposals I received and if those companies fulfilled it or didn't fulfill it. I received proposals from eGovLink, Civic Plus, Lee Media Group, and Vision Internet. As you can see, eGov and Civic Plus were yeses through all these categories, and those were pretty much the goals that I just outlined. I'll kind of go over the proposals each specifically so you can kind of see how they actually do fulfill it or don't fulfill it. eGovLink, I contacted them about just updating our website because it did just need an update, and they said, well, actually your website is way out of date. We can't even do updates with it. You're kind of stuck with it as it is. So that's why we're reinvesting in a complete new website redesign. We'd have to do a new content management system, which is with WordPress. That's a pretty common one. Their timeline's approximately 15 to 19 weeks, and they do fulfill the mobile app option. It's just a little different. Their mobile app is called an open source app, so it's one app for all the cities. So it's going to be where your location at is where it's going to pull up. So if they drive through Park City to get to work or something like that, it's going to pull up that city. Or if they're sitting in Bel Aire, it's going to pull up Bel Aire stuff. I did include a couple pictures. They're kind of hard to see, but these are kind of some of the websites that they do, and they are pretty nice websites. So you did get a list of these websites in your staff report if you did go and look at them. Civic Plus, they use a specialized content management system it's their personal one. They take approximately 16 to 24 weeks. They have features available that include over 22 modules. There have been different times where City Council has said things that they've wanted with our website that we just haven't had capabilities of, and some of these modules actually will fulfill that. The Agenda Center is kind of an area where your minutes, your agendas, and your video for council will all be easily located. Then you'll have an alert center where if there is emergency notification, it will pop up right there on the website. And then also the media center offers live streaming where they could get city council meetings or anything anywhere, not only for Bel Aire residents for their Channel 7 news. They also offer their Civic mobile app. Their app would be Bel Aire's app. It would mimic our website. Actually, I just update one thing and it would update both of them so they both stay up to date and fresh and everything like that. And also we could we could push notifications to whoever has those apps. So it's just like when you receive an email, you get a notification. If we send out something to their app, they'll get a little notification. And then also they offer a Civic Plus redesign guarantee, and that means after 4 years of staying with them, we'll get a basic website redesign at no additional cost, which is very nice because as we've experienced ourselves, technology changes so much. We have to keep changing along with it. These are some examples of their sites as well. These towns all do have the mobile app as well as the website, and they do have some nice features there available, so you can go and take a look at those. Lee Media Group, they're actually a local company just right out of Rose Hill. So, they use WordPress. Their timeline is expected around 12 weeks. They don't have a mobile app. They do mobile responsive websites like all the other ones. They feel like that kind of eliminates the need of having a mobile app. They do offer additional support services that could be of use to the city in the future, but those are for additional cost. Those are some of their current websites too. They do Rose Hill Chamber and they do Compass Systems. Vision Internet, I did contact them. We talked shortly. Their minimum budget was $30,000, and so
Very short conversation.
Very short conversation. Both said, okay, we're kind of both on point with that. But this is the financial overview. You can this kind of puts it side by side. You can see how everybody looks. Our current annual costs are $32.38 for our website and $1,800 for our mobile app. I do go into more specifics about the financials. eGovLink, we can cut the cost and just move the content over ourselves. That's $25 per page, although that'll be a very slow process. City staff time it'll take a long time to do that, so to actually get a mobile website out, to get our website out there, that might not be the best option for us. Their annual cost is $32.38. Their mobile app's $9.50 for development and $22.20 yearly. Civic Plus, they have their cost including content migration, and their annual costs are $3,000. They do have an option that is pretty great for us. They let us spread out the one-time design fee over 3 years, so that we can actually budget for this, and it won't hurt us the first year having that giant initial cost come out of our budget. And this is Lee Media Group. They're $9,600 for their website redesign. Their annual cost is kind of hard to estimate, but I try to do a good job. Their support hours is $85 per hour. So with 3 out, this annual cost of around $3,300 includes 3 hours of support a month. And Vision Internet, we just didn't have the budget for them. So my eGovLink and Civic Plus, they both fulfilled all of our needs. They're both very oriented toward government websites. They have the mobile app and the website redesign that we would need. What made Civic Plus stand out was that they had their mobile app that was specific to Bel Aire. They offered the budget-friendly, spreading the cost out for 3 years, and they have that website redesign guarantee after 4 years. Mm-hmm. So.
Thank you so much, Tristan,
Thank you.
for gathering all of this information and presenting it to council to consider. Are there questions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to thank Kristen. This is probably the best report that we've received. She's done a lot of homework on it. She did a very good job, and they were easy to understand. I was just pleased with all her work, and whoever helped you get all this stuff, or if you did it all yourself, that's wonderful, because this was very clear. And thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I have a question. I appreciate too, this is great. On the mobile app, since you said at
Yes.
the end of the month, so if we choose them, will we go ahead and be able to get that mobile app before we get the web design, or are we going to go with a few weeks without one?
We're gonna go. We'll probably actually go a few months without one.
A few months,
maybe
okay.
two to 3 months
Because
until we
it's
can
the
get that
same
launched
time
out. Because
frame.
it'll be the same time
Okay.
frame, and we really want to keep it with that time frame so we can make sure the information
Sure.
is good.
Well, I figured that. I just wanted to make sure. I figured they were
Yes.
connected. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, we can just put something out on our website right now that says, you know,
Like-
we're redoing this and you just don't have your app for a while.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll
Yeah.
make sure everyone that has our current app knows that.
Yeah, perfect.
That, and it'll be available for future.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor? I have probably made, easily more than 100 bids. And you can tell a lot about a company from the bid that they make. And it's very obvious to me that Civic Plus wants the business of Bel Aire. And I'm happy to see that. End of my
Once again,
comment.
you and I are in agreement. Councilmember Becker?
Did I,
It's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have a
was-
comment, but,
We'll come
yeah.
back.
I was just going to say, I'm really excited about this because I don't know whether the mayor shared with you, but when he and I were on the Eco Devo committee many years ago, we actually started this discussion, and not that that was our first website, but we needed a better website at that time. And a couple of these companies, Civic Plus being one of them, and of course eGov, were companies we looked at that time. So they've been around a long time. And I've just got to put a plug in here. I am a big web person. I think it's so important because so many people shop on the web for everything, their house, their community, and it's a very, very important part of letting people know about our city. So I think this is great that we're improving what we've had in the past now. And I was going to tell you, Pete Lundrigan and Rob Gibson designed the first website for the city of Bel Aire. And they did it as citizens, as a donation to the city. And they did a beautiful job, really. It was one of the best websites we've ever had. They went around town, took pictures of all of our beautiful parks, and it was really showing our city off. And I think that's what we need to do on our website. Lots of beautiful pictures about all the beauty we have here, and just let people know about our community. So I agree with Mr. Donald that I think that Civic Plus looks really good. I think it's great that they would let us, spread out the payments over the 4 years. And I will echo what others have said. You did a beautiful job on this research. You were thorough. You gave us all the information we need, and I really do appreciate that, Tristan. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just a couple of comments along the same line. I spent some time looking at Civics Plus because I hadn't had the background of ever looking at them previously. I don't build city websites, that's for sure. But I, as she was giving the presentation and we heard that, eGov Link, which has a product out there that is probably not the finest product, to give them a break. And then the first thing that they said after that was, oh, well, yeah, we can't fix it. We have to build it new. I wish I had a dollar bill for every time I've heard that. And so it's a big turnoff for me. The current website has been fixed a few times because it was so terrible in the beginning that you could barely use it. And from what I saw on Civic Plus, and I saw some things going out on the internet and researching what's out there. They were pretty upfront with who they are and what they do and that kind of thing. So kind of leaning that way too.
And I'll just say, to me, to echo, I think what a lot of the council members up here have shared, to me, it kind of came down to those two, the Civics Plus and with Lee. And Civic Plus just, to me, seemed the most interactive. When I went out, it seemed like it popped a lot more, which is exactly kind of what Councilmember Becker's been talking about. But just the other places where, to me, Civic Plus wins in my mind is, again, that every 4 year that automatically refreshes. I cannot tell you how great that is to hear. The fact that they'll allow us to spread out those, like Councilmember McDonald said, they want to work with us, they want the business. But the third part was that interactive part with the emergency. I mean, Amber Alerts, tornado alerts,
I agree.
silver alerts. I mean, it just went on and connecting. And yeah, sounds like our app may come down for a couple months, but you know what? I'd rather it be right than rushed. So, yeah, my recommendation would be to go with Civic Plus.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move to accept the proposal from Civic Plus for a website, mobile app design and hosting, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
We all second. Everybody but Guy.
I wrote down all.
Except Guy. Guy didn't say it.
I did right, huh?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Again, exciting things are happening this year. It's going to be great. Okay. Next is consideration of engaging AGH and advisors to complete the 2015 financial audit. Again, this is state law. State statute requires that municipalities complete a financial audit every single year. In 2012, the RFP were requested for auditing services, and Allen Gibbs and Hewlett were chosen at that time. They're proposing a $710 increase from last year. And I think it's fairly reasonable considering that's over 3 years. The other two, just want to point out, when you change auditing companies, much more time is spent, by staff. We got to bring them up to date and bring them in, and I can't think of the words here, but yeah, bringing them up to date on the many different duties that we maintain, such as being the developer of the park, Central Park, Sunflower Commerce Park, the PBC, the CCUA, Land Bank, on and on and on. So to me, weighing that versus a $700 increase versus someone who's, as a matter of fact, we won an auditing award in the past, if memory serves. So that'd be my recommendation, that we stick with AGH for the audit.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I have a comment. I read Michelle Meyer's report, and it's complete. And there's no question in my mind that we should continue with AGH because of the quality of their work and the history that we have with them. End of comment.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I agree with that, so I've been very pleased. So I make a motion to accept the proposal from AGH and advisors to perform the 2015 City of Bel Aire financial audit and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second that.
Questions or comments before voting? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And before moving to our next item, in talking with the council members before, I think if we could have a brief executive session. Be my recommendation.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have a question about executive sessions, and I'll address it to our parliamentarian. In the past, we have put a 10-minute or 20-minute or a time period on the executive session, and many times council members are restrained in their ability to make comments because of the time pressure. And I've looked at Robert's Rules of Order in the latest version, and I don't see that it is necessary to have a time limit on the executive session. Is that correct or not?
That's not correct, and that's one of those issues that we're struggling through as a body. Robert's Rules of Order is the parliamentary rules. Layered on top of those are the Kansas statutes. And within the Kansas statutes, the rules for executive sessions are set, and it's within the Kansas Open Meetings Act. And the Kansas Open Meetings Act requires that 3 things go into every motion for an executive session. The first is you have to justify why you're closing the meeting, and they give 14 specific limited reasons under which you can justify closing a meeting for executive session. Second, you have to exactly state the subject that is to be discussed during the closed or executive session. And that's, again, using the wording within the statute. You don't have to give anybody's names, but the wording within the statute. And third, you must state the time and place at which the open meeting shall resume. So that's that time limitation.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If, I don't know if others are waiting here for these other items, but if they are, I wondered if we could just move this to the end right before, like if we could move this, if they're waiting for that.
I think
They're
we've got
not.
There's no one
Okay,
here.
Yeah.
okay, well, I just wanted to make sure, because I didn't want our staff to have to wait if they needed to be here for any other item. I was just trying to think of them. Okay, so how long do you need, Mr. Mayor?
My thought was I'd like maybe 5-10 minute
I
executive
want
session.
more than that, because we get back there and you get back out, and some of us don't get to speak on it.
Okay.
So,
Well, we can't do any,
We can't take
Kind
binding
of.
action. but
well,
yeah,
no,
for-
but all of us should be able to speak in executive session, right?
If so desire, yeah.
Yeah, so
I
5
don't
or
think you
10
can do-
minutes is not going to be long enough.
5 minutes, you can't get anything done.
let's do 10 and try it. Is that okay? So we're not bound to more?
I think we need more. There are 5 members of council plus the mayor, and if we each take 5 minutes, that's 30 minutes right there. So, now I'm not saying we should take 5 minutes, or we can,
Yeah.
but some of us, have things, and there'll be arguments, of course. I'll say something and someone will disagree, and I will disagree with it. So it takes that kind of discussion to come to a consensus of opinion about the particular issue that we're discussing. And so I think we need a little bit more time. I would suggest 30 minutes. And
I
if someone
think-
else has a
Yeah.
lower estimate, that's fine.
I think we should start, because you're bound for that, I think we should start at 15. And then we can always come back out and ask for more. But I don't want to bind us to 30. And then we are going to break a law if we go on to other things, because we're going in for a specific reason. And that's why we have our attorney. So
But
would that be, well,
That's okay, but I don't understand breaking a law. We're going to discuss a particular issue, and that's the purpose of the executive
but
session.
if we finish in 15, there's no need to do a 30 and keep us back there and us
You
go
can go
on
to
to
the
something
bathroom.
out. Well,
We
no.
come back, we can't call the meeting back to order. or
Right,
anything,
and,
so.
and so we might as well just,
Well,
I'd rather err, if it's okay, on
That's
the
okay with
shorter-
me, but breaking the law was a comment that I didn't
Okay,
understand.
well, I meant, I didn't want to go back there and not be exact, start saying, if talking about poor Chiefs losing or
Well,
something, which isn't
the-
what we're there
Well,
for.
we don't
The
do that.
executive session
Okay.
starts from the time the motion's made, and then if you say 15 minutes, you got to come back in 15 minutes, not 5 minutes after, correct, attorney?
No,
You just can't come back and start earlier.
early.
Right.
You can come back later.
And you're all
You can't come back
exactly, you're
later.
all exactly right. The concern that Councilmember O'Donnell was having is that if you come back before if you call for 30 and you only use 20, you can't reopen the meeting for that exact
Right.
extra 10 minutes. And I think you're all saying the exact same thing, and you're all right.
But if you say 15 minutes, make the motion, and it's seconded, you got to come back in 15 minutes, not 20 minutes, right?
15 minutes, and typically when if your executive session's for 15 minutes, and
When it starts is when the mayor hits his gavel and says, "We are hereby recessed for executive session."
Okay.
I would entertain a motion that we have an executive session for 15 or, say, 15 to 20 for something, for a contract negotiation, and invite the city manager and attorney in. But I
So
can make
moved.
that motion.
Well, I'll make it for
Don't you
15
have to make a
minutes.
specific time?
And I'll invite in the city manager and the attorney for discussion on a contract negotiation.
Second.
For how long?
15.
15. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are recessed to an executive session for 15 minutes, beginning
Do we need to take anything in? I don't even know.
council just had an executive session. No binding action was taken. Go ahead and call the meeting back to order. We are on item H, which is consideration of an agreement for IT services that we've had quite a bit of discussion about, and it sounds like some pros and cons and some questions still linger. But what is the council's desire for tonight in this matter?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to know more about OneSource technology, and I know the only thing I've seen is the contract from Cybertron and the contract from them. I'd like to I'd like to be present at a meeting with OneSource technology as they meet with staff, and I would like them to come out to look at the IT, the computers and IT technology that we have, so that they can tell us, person to person, what they can do and what they will do, and so on. Now, I've read their contract, and if they do what they say in their contract, that's fine. But one of the difficulties was that apparently they've been invited to come, and they have declined to do so. And if that's the case, I'd like to know that personally. That's the end of my comment.
Is there a motion on the matter?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
since we do still have questions, et cetera, I would like to move to table this discussion until some additional information can be gained. But I'd also like to kind of put a deadline on that, to have this occur prior to the next meeting, which,
February 2nd?
February 2nd?
February 2nd? Okay, thank you. I was at a loss there. Prior to our February 2nd meeting, that we'll revisit this on that date.
We have a first to table.
Second.
Second. And before I call for the vote, would just say, without trying to break our executive session, we could maybe have just a clear bullet point, one-to-one comparison with the invitation. Like I said, it had been expressed to me that they had been invited more than once to come out and look and see if they're able to, or willing to do that with enough time that we could maybe just do would like a white paper summary, is that
Maybe a little PowerPoint with the two?
something?
How hard would that be?
Mr. Mayor, I said that I would like to be present if and when they came out, but I neglected to say, I think that Councilwoman Becker and Councilwoman Diane Nguyen, who know a lot more about technology than I do, I think they should also be present when and if OneSource technology does come out. And I want to be present because I've been in business for a while, and I can tell, I get a feel for people when they make presentations.
Got to tell you, we'll be in open meetings violation if we have 3 council members there, so we can only have 2.
Okay, well then I don't want to be there then. I'll let, no, really, I'll let,
Why don't one of us
There
defer
can be 3,
to
can't there?
have you there? I'd be glad to defer if Diane would be there.
You know, and I cannot be there if you want, because I'm not going to gain anything if they're here or not, but I don't want any, even a scent of that occurring.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question. Is it true that if 3 council members are present when someone comes in to present a contract, a presentation, that's illegal?
No, it's not illegal. It would become a meeting whenever a quorum of the governing body meets to discuss city business, that must be published as an open meeting. So if 3 of you were to be here, it'd have to be published as an open meeting, which would mean the public could be present. That may or may not have an impact upon the type of information that a contractor is willing to state.
I personally don't think it would have a an impact, a negative impact anyway. So I'd be comfortable if the 3 of us could go, if you're willing.
Would you like them to come and do a formal presentation?
Yes.
So that you could all be here and, similar to what Cybertron did?
Maybe at the
Would
next
that-
council meeting.
Yeah.
Or would you?
I'd rather meet in the conference room and, sit down and just have a back and forth conversation. And if that's, if Diane can't make it because she has some other obligation, then there's only 2 council members. And if Councilwoman Martine wants to come, and if Councilwoman O'Donnell wants to come, that's fine with me too. I have no problem with that. But there's too much lack of information on my part. I just.
Mr. Mayor, the question I have is, when whoever's going to call this One Source Technology, could Mrs. Nguyen possibly give the name of the head person that they could contact and talk to?
We already have that, and that's who we've been talking to.
Okay.
We have a motion to table this until our next meeting. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. No server crashes for 2 more weeks. No, sir. Okay, moving right along. Next is consideration of approving the revised council workshop policy, which identifies the day and time. And we've talked about this and looked over these, and I think had a couple of questions on there that have been cleared up, and that's there. And this was tabled from our last meeting, but it sets the second Tuesday at 6:30 as workshops, and that is when they are needed. So I would recommend that we approve this.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mrs.
I
Martinez.
make a motion to approve the council meeting, the council workshop policy as presented, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
First and second, are there any questions or comments?
Yes, hold on, I've got that in my file here. Let me check this. There's a couple of things I would like to have modified, minor things.
Okay.
On the date and time where it says generally, I'd like to have it, go ahead and say regularly, like it was before, because generally gets us back into the maybe, maybe not. And what we're trying to do is make this more firm for the public, more reliable. And so I thought that would be good to change that word generally to regularly. And also when it says at the end of that last bullet, the last sentence says, such modified times and places shall be reasonable so as to encourage attendance by interested members of the city. I'd like to say residents of the city rather than members.
I don't know that either one of those makes a big difference. I think we'd probably make those changes if that would.
That's the main thing I thought we should probably change.
Saying
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
I make a motion to amend the motion in accord with Councilwoman Becker's recommendations.
Okay, well, hold on. We've got a motion and a second. First of all, to approve it.
And that is a proper subsidiary motion. If it's seconded,
Second.
Okay.
Wait a minute, the other one wasn't,
That's why I just wanted to point out that we already had a first and a second, so I just made the subsidiary that was seconded.
so doesn't it have to come back to me to make the amendment?
there are 2 ways to amend a motion. Councilmember McDonald chose to take the more formal action, which is not to ask the original maker of the motion, but in fact to make a subsidiary motion, which is absolutely fine. One is informal, one is formal.
Fine with me. Go ahead.
I say, I don't know if these words change anything, so.
Man,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Because this has to come back before us, correct?
No.
So what you've just voted on is a subsidiary motion. Now you need to vote on the amended motion.
Okay. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is consideration of approving the Bel Aire council member meeting rules of order. This came up at our December 17th workshop where we talked about Robert's rules being so burdensome, and I know we have Bob's rules that some are using. So Mr. Lasher drafted the Bel Aire council meeting rules of order from the Bob's rules of order. That way, when an issue arises that's not covered under the Bel Aire rules of order, of course, Robert's rules will be utilized. This item was tabled at the January 5th meeting for further review. Staff made a couple of changes that Councilmember McDonald shared, and that is now before you. Should also point out that the LKM also has a code of procedures that the council could adopt in lieu of Robert's rules of order. I'm sound like a broken record. I hate continuing to table things here, but my recommendation might be that we do that again and ask staff to purchase a copy of the league's protocol to make sure that this Bob's rules fits in line with what our council is wanting. Because right now I'm not sure that because we've got to follow the state statute and the LKM protocol first.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I was concerned at the last meeting about the Bel Aire Council meeting rules of order, and because of the language that was used, I thought it had to be corrected, and staff did an excellent job of correcting it. But I've recently learned that there is some consternation about using Bob's rules of order, and I don't know what that is, but I would like to find out.
Mm-hmm.
So I will make a motion to table the consideration of approving the Bel Aire Council meeting rules of order.
Second.
First and second to table. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All righty, and finally, again, this is something we've talked about for quite a while, and kind of something ways that we're being able to handle things that have been forced on us. But this is due to the state legislation that was passed last year. City elections were moved to the fall of odd years, and then as a result, Bel Aire needs to update our charter ordinance to reflect this change. Again, this item was also tabled at our last meeting to allow our city attorney to research some time related to questions, appointments and all of that, and just didn't know if council had additional questions or comments
I do.
about that. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, and I'm sorry that I have to ask our attorney a question, because this actually came up after the SCAC meeting, and I was talking to some of the people from other cities. And under Section 4, where it talks about every February we elect a president of the council, and then they serve I did, and then Mr. McDonald did, and it rotates. But I was going to ask our attorney, because it came up with some of the other council members. Ours happens to say if the mayor resigns by death, resignation, or removal, then the president of the council becomes mayor until the next election. And some of them, and I don't know if they were correct, when we were talking, they actually, they thought, I don't know if it ever happens, that instead you could either have an election or you could appoint someone like they do but you would appoint someone from the council instead of just automatically being, let's say, like next year, I'll use me just for an example, so no one feels like I'm picking on him. Like I was president of the council, and then he moves, far away, and then I automatically become, but that might not be the will of the people that they wanted me to actually be mayor. Is that standard, or can you change the wordage that says then the council votes among the members? Or, because a lot of times you just rotate it from place to place, and I never thought about it. So do you know?
Most of the language in Chapter 12 of the state statutes is non-uniform. The language about president of the council comes in under a non-uniform law. So the fact that we're able to charter out from underneath most of those provisions, I do believe, and of course, before we made any changes, I would double check it, but I do believe that it can be modified within the charter so that it's not the president of the council who automatically becomes mayor. And the reason that I have looked into that before is, and I'm going to use you all as an example, if Mayor Austin should decide, for whatever reason, that he's moving out of the area, Councilmember McDonald would automatically become mayor.
Right.
Well, if he had just started his 4-year term, by automatically becoming mayor, he's going to move into a 2-year term from a 4-year term. And what that means is he's got to be ready to go back to election in 2 years. So the problem with that is if you change your charter, and I think it was Councilmember Martin who wanted me to look into changing the charter so that an empty seat, which would be Councilmember McDonald's empty seat, that whoever was appointed to fill it got to stay in it for the full term. What that would mean is if after Councilmember McDonald got done serving as mayor, there wouldn't be a seat open for him to run for to be put back onto the council. So anyway, it could.
Yeah, I understand. I just
But
never
he
had
could
thought
run
about
for
it.
mayor again, correct?
He could run for mayor again, but the council member position that he had been moved out of, per
Wouldn't
the
be
language
open.
of the charter, would
He
be closed
couldn't go
again.
back and fill the other 2 years that's left.
Right, because
somebody
once-
else was in it.
Once a person is appointed, they are a full member.
Right.
And they have all, from the moment they're appointed, they have all the same rights, responsibilities as someone who's elected. So whoever would have been appointed to serve that. Now, at this point, the way the charter was written originally is anybody who is appointed automatically just goes in until the next election, and it avoids that situation.
Okay. Well, and they were just talking, and they said, well, they thought it was kind of weird that we wouldn't vote among the 5 of us who would. And so I came back and read this, and I thought, well, I don't know that it's ever happened, but I did think it was interesting. I'm not saying I'm for or against it, but I just was curious, since it does move year to year to different people. It was just something that we were talking about how, because it seems like who would have known that 3 times I voted for another council member in the 3 terms, so I just had that question.
A mayor has resigned in the past, and the president
What happened?
and the president of the council became the mayor.
That's right.
Oh, okay, back in the
Over at the old
96
building.
recall. Okay, that's right.
And then he ran 2 years later for mayor.
Okay. Okay. Well, and that's fine.
But
I'm
for some
fine with
reason,
this.
I don't have a page 4 of what you're talking about. I've either lost
It's
it
section
or-
4, page 2, sorry. It's page 2.
I don't have that
section
either. I got 3.
It's on the back of mine.
I got it. But I don't have a 4 here.
Section wards in the city and president of the council. It's second paragraph.
It's red.
Well, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at what she had there. Well, that's so little I can't even see it. I have to use a magnifying glass. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that was just my question. If we wanted to leave that, what was the consensus? It was just some talk I'd had with other cities. I'm fine either way.
Mr. Mayor, I had never thought about that either, but I do think that's probably a pretty good idea because you never know what kind of a situation you might be in, and the council might very well vote the president of the council to be mayor. And so I think that's something to think about.
Well, I didn't win the Powerball, so I'm still.
No, I'm not saying that. I just
know.
had never thought about it, and that's how some
Well,
of
you
them
never
said
know
they
what's
did
gonna
it.
happen.
Right.
You know?
Either way, I just was curious and had never thought about it, so,
Yeah, it happened in the past.
yeah.
May I say something else, Mayor?
Yes.
I do think it would be good to change to service for the balance of the unexpired term when somebody's appointed to the council. And the reason I feel this way is because it's kind of hard when you have 4 brand-new council members all at the same time. And if you allow the appointed person to fill the unexpired term, we would stay on our regular rotation of 2 and 3, you know, as far as elections go. So in my opinion, that might be a good change.
I would respectfully disagree with that, because we're doing, to me, going to the next election, that means it's up to the people who's elected. And it's still, you continue, it breaks it up, and we've got that going on right now. We had it 2 years before that, where then the citizens will get to choose, as opposed to us.
Well, that's kind of beside the point, really, because what I'm talking, they're already a council member, so you aren't going to undo that, you know? And they will come up for reelection eventually. But I just think for the experience of the council and I just think it's helpful to have people retained on the council that are experienced, you know, at least have 2 council members.
I guess my hope would be then the person that was appointed would run.
Well, that's
And
why.
be elected. Not, I mean, if they choose not to or are not retained, that's a whole other issue. But it's up, I mean, nothing is keeping the person that's appointed, nothing is keeping Councilmember Nguyen from running again in 2 years, if she so chooses. And then it would be up to her and up to the people.
Yeah, I guess that's right, and then
Yeah.
we'd get back on the cycle.
Mr.
Right.
Mayor,
Okay.
don't you feel, though, that the residents know that when there's an open seat, that they talk to people to fill out the applications to come in and sign up for the council?
I'm sure they do.
Well, then, in my opinion, the people are still choosing the people that sign up.
Well, we didn't get a whole bunch of phone calls endorsing one of the candidate over another. The last one, no, came in, and it was up to, you know, the council decided who they wanted to fill the position. And again, like I said, it'll be up to Councilmember Nguyen in 2 years if she wants to seek re-election, and if she does, or seek election, and then if she does, it'll be up to the citizens. And that's what I want to leave it in the hands of the citizens, not the governing body up here, and keeping us on that cycle. You know, the other way it presents, again, we're talking worst case scenario here, someone gets elected and they resign a week later, you know, there could be a backroom deal to put someone in there for, you know, 4 years now, and then what do? Then you've got someone in there that, you know, so just, I like the idea of until the next election, keep that staying on that cycle. And again, I would encourage then, especially if it's someone, for the reasons you state, to, you know, they would seek election for a full term.
Right. Can I ask an informational question? It's off the subject. Are there term limits?
No.
So you can run as many times as you want?
Until the citizens say we
20
don't like
years
you.
until you drop dead.
Okay.
I think there actually was a city council member that was on 20 years. Wasn't there, Mr. McDonald?
No.
No? Was
I'm not
Ms.
Mr.
Marley-
McDonald, but I,
Yeah, wasn't Carolyn
But you can
Marley?
answer, you can
Carolyn
answer.
Marley.
Andy knows everything.
Carolyn Marlier.
I thought she was on.
She
was not on 20 years.
No, she was in her 5th term when she passed, right?
Right.
She ran, so I think she served 17 years or 18. Wow. Because she'd won, I think, her, didn't she? I don't know. I
don't
know it was
remember.
almost 16 at least then.
Yeah, I thought it was 12 or 14, but
Anyway.
I know it wasn't 20.
So, but back to,
think
our
that'd
charter
be a
ordinance,
nice addition.
I want to bring us back to, the charter ordinance that we've had a lot of discussion on, making sure that we're in compliance with the state statute, but yet still having some local control over our governing body. And that is what is before us tonight. Has been written up and changed and tweaked and is ready for us to take action on tonight.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I still have some questions.
Okay?
I'd like to see this currently, number 1 on page 2, the current city charter provides no timeline. I'd like to see that raised to 120 days to make sure that we all can get in there and, instead of 60 days.
I agree.
Section 3 on page 2, right here. Within,
Oh,
here.
this is where I just was.
Within 120 instead of 60?
Yes. And I don't want to take it back to to where we have to take a vote. I mean, what do you call it? That you have to have a special election.
I would say 120, because that's,
Because if we had 120 days to look at these people and discuss with them or talk to them after you give us the applications and et cetera, we should be able to make some kind of a decision.
because that was one of the issues we ran into last time, is all of a sudden we found out,
60
holy cow,
days.
we've got to do this now,
Well,
guys.
there's something about 45 days, and I don't even see that in here.
So.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I think that's a good idea because it gives you an opportunity to talk to more people that might be interested. And I think it just takes the pressure off. Although we were able to accomplish it in that time frame. Sometimes we might be under different circumstances where that was more difficult to do. And so I do think it would be good to have that cushion of time even if it wasn't used.
I was going to say that's the other good point too that Councilmember Becker says, even if it's not used, if we give ourselves that cushion, guys, I like that insurance, because if we all come up with someone in 90 days, we don't have to wait 120. But if we put in Councilmember Martine's suggestion, which I am in favor of, I think I agree with you, Mrs. Martine.
Also, this charter ordinance number 17, it gives us all of the KSA 14 dash blah, blah, blah. And was the primary elections in this? Because I don't know what these charter numbers are.
Yes,
Could you tell me where that is, please?
yes. I believe that, and again, my computer went down, so I'm working from the paper copies, but I believe that Chapter 88, Section 71, codified at KSA 12-104A, is non-uniform in application, and that's the one with the 60-day turnaround and the special election, and you're chartering out from underneath that.
I don't find that. What was that number again, please?
Section, if you look at the charter, Section 1 exemption, pursuant to the power vested in it by Article 12, Section 5 of the Constitution of the State of Kansas, the City of Bel Aire, Kansas does hereby elect to exempt itself from and make applicable to this city all portions of the following statutes, which are acts of the Kansas legislature that are non-uniform in application.
Okay.
It lists KSA 14-103 regarding dividing the city into wards, KSA 14-204 regarding selecting council members from wards and provisions associated with vacancy in the office of mayor, KSA 14-308 regarding vacancy in the office of mayor or council, and Law 2015, Chapter 88, Section 71, codified at KSA 104A regarding vacancies in the office of a member of the governing body.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
As long as that's in there, I don't want to have a primary.
Definitely.
But I would like it amended to do the 120 days instead of the 60 days, because I just feel it would give you time to make a better choice.
I think that's the consensus up here, if I were to guess.
Take the pressure off.
Yeah. Is that a motion?
With the amendment of it to 120 days, yes.
I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion to approve with the amendment, the charter ordinance. And do I need to read all this?
Sure.
I probably should. Exempting the city of Bel Aire, Kansas from all provisions of KSA 14-103, 14-204, 14-308, and L2 2015 Charter 88, Section 71, codified at 12-104A, providing substitute and additional provisions for the same and repealing Charter Ordinances 3, Charter Ordinance 7, and Charter Ordinance 16. So that is the motion on the floor. Since it is a charter ordinance, it is roll call. Are there any questions or comments?
Yes,
You
Mr.
didn't
Mayor.
put the amendment in there.
Oh, I did at the beginning, I thought.
Okay.
I think that we have a motion made to amend, and it was seconded. That's a subsidiary motion. I think that has to be voted upon, and then what you just read is the main motion, and we'll vote on that. Is that correct or not?
I'm going to apologize. I wasn't tracking that was a motion to amend. I thought it was, I heard the motion to adopt the charter ordinance with the amendment.
With the amendment. That's how I interpret it.
Okay.
Okay, I withdraw my motion to amend, my second to amend.
Okay. So it's been motioned.
Jamie, who's the second on the motion?
It was Councilmember McDonald.
motion, Guy made the second.
Okay, and just to clarify, this is a charter, we've got to make sure we do this right, and I don't want anyone confused. Would you read back the motion?
Betty made a motion to amend the charter ordinance, changing the 60 days to 120 days. And it's the charter ordinance exempting the city of Bel Aire, Kansas from all provisions of KSA 14-103, 14-204, 14-308, and is that law?
Yeah.
2015, Chapter 88, Section 71.
Okay, and that clarifies, so the motion, as Betty put it, was to accept Charter Ordinance number 17 with the amendment from 60 to 100 days. That's what Councilmember McDonald seconded. And do you stand by your second, or do you want someone else to second that?
No, I'll stand by my second.
Okay.
Okay, so back. And to add confusion, I think you said 100 days, it was 120 days.
And
Just
I
for the record.
apologize.
Just for, hey, it's been a long day here. So we're all okay, we got a first and second, everybody's clear? Let's rock and roll here, guys. All right, Councilmember Becker.
Aye.
Councilmember McDonald.
Aye.
Councilmember Martine.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Aye.
Councilmember Wynn.
Aye.
Me, aye. Okay. Other discussions and future issues that need to come before council this evening? Hearing none, is there another need for an executive session? I do not have one. Okay, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Martine.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
First and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.